Hi everybody, here we are at the backyard beehive. That's the beehive. See the bees coming and going? You see them? They're very small. They're coming and going. I'm staying out of their way, and we all like each other. I read the Beeman. So this is a book from the Little Leapers book. The Beeman by Laurie and Krebs, Valeria. Bees. There wouldn't be sunflowers, wouldn't be peas, wouldn't be apples or apple trees if it weren't for fuzzy old, buzzy old bees dusting pollen from off of their knees. That's a poem by Aline Fisher. The Beeman. Here's my grandpa, who's known in our town as the Beeman. Here's his jacket with his zipped up hood that covers his face in just the way it should when he visits his hive as the Beeman. Here are his gloves, made of cotton and leather, protecting his hands in all kinds of weather when he tends to his hive as the Beeman. Here is the beehive. There is the beehive. Here is the beehive where all the bees sleep, tucked into a box that is shallow or deep. Our beehive is called a deep beehive. Here's the beehive where all the bees sleep, tucked into a box, either shallow or deep, then placed on a stand by the Beeman. Here is the smoker that calms down the bees, and a hive tool that opens the beehives with ease for a much closer look by the Beeman. These are the drone bees. They're little tiny bees with their big bulging eyes and a large appetite supporting their size, that they mate with the queen as the Beeman. Here are the workers, 10,000 or more. Those are the workers, there they go, who gather the nectar and bring it back to the store in honeycomb cells for the Beeman. Here they go. So if I was to open the top of that, you'd see a big piece like this. It looks a lot like that. Here are the house bees with swift-moving wings to dry up the nectar the worker bees bring, making honey for me and the Beeman. And he says me. Here's the extractor. That's the extractor. It's like a big pot. It's like a can. And this thing spins around and spins around and spins around. These things are the honeycombs. And they're cut open just a little bit so the honey can get out. And he spins it around. Here is the extractor. It's clickety-clack, removing the honey from the frames on his rack and filling up jars for the Beeman. Did you know that honey can last a long, long time? Long time in a jar. And if your honey in a jar gets to be crystallized on the bottom, that's okay. It hasn't spoiled. It can still be used for sweetening of things. Here are some of the honey that is returned to the hive. It's food for the bees to help them survive. See, this is the honey. Or you can take the other pieces of the things that still have goopy honey on it and just leave it out. The bees will get them. The bees will eat their own honey and put it back where it goes. Here is some of the honey returned to the hive. It's food for the bees to help them survive the long winter days near the Beeman. Here are the bees protected from harm inside the hive, all snuggled and warm. So they'll be here for next year, said the Beeman. So they put a wrap, and I haven't done it yet, but around this, they'll put a wrap. They'll put a big wrap around that. It could be tar paper, it could be black insulation, but they wrapped it up because in this climate it gets kind of cold. So they put a blanket around the box of the beehive. Here is the wagon, filled up to the brim with bottles of honey collected by him and brought to the house by the Beeman. And you can tell it's getting to the fall time because he has his sweater on. Everybody has their sweater on, and it's getting to the fall time. Oh, and there's no leaves on the tree. Here are the muffins, all warm and delicious, and dripping with honey on Grandma's best dishes. Oh, and they're gonna have maybe some tea, and they're getting the honey ready, and the biscuits. I'm glad that my grandpa is the bee man, and Mimi is the bee lady too. And here's some stuff about bees. Bees belong to the insect family. They have 6 legs and 3 body parts, a head, a thorax, and an abdomen, 2 pairs of wings, an antenna, and combined eyes, compound eyes, that let them see in all directions. And one of the things I am fascinated about is that inside of the beehive, there's no light. It's totally dark in there. And so the bees go outside where it's very, very bright. And they look for flowers. They can't see red. They like blue. They go out and they see different flowers, and they find different flowers, and they find puddles of water, and they find where the stream is, and they find where the pond is. And then they come back. But inside, it's totally dark. And they have to figure out how to transmit information to other bees and tell the other bees where things go. And they have to build these cool hives. All of the beehives are 6-sided containers. They're honeycombs. But no matter where you go, if you go to California, or if you go to Maryland, or if you go to Pennsylvania, or if you go to Europe, or if you go to Asia, there will be 6-sided honeycombs. I don't know how the bees know that. I think God taught them how to do it. This is a whole story of pollination, a whole story of honey, and this is about the bee dance. The bee dance is the way the bees fly around and communicate to each other about where the good honey is, where the good nectar is. The honey is inside of here. The nectar is out there. The nectar and the pollen is out there. And then there's a nice recipe here for Grandma's apple and honey muffins. And that's the book about the bee man. I zipped through the pieces at the end, and you can read them separately. Thank you very much. Enjoy the bees.